Hello again. Talking about the laws of logic, deductive reasoning. The second law of logic that we'll use, again, it kind of takes on a format. It's called the law of syllogism. I don't like that name, mostly because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But it's called chain rule. That's a more common name. It takes on this format. If P, then Q. The next statement is if Q, then some other conclusion R. So we got this little bit of a chain happening here. If P, then Q. All right, so if something happens, then you have this conclusion Q. Well, if Q happens, well then something else is happening because of that. That's your conclusion R. And so it's a little bit of a chain. So the valid conclusion is right here, this last statement. If the first hypothesis, if that happens, it causes Q to happen. If Q happens, then you have the final thing R. It's just making this little bit of a chain link, connecting these statements. It's just I keep on thinking of another name, but now I can't remember that name. But you're just making that chain. Chain of events. So, and like it says over here, if these first two statements are true, your conclusion is also going to be true. All right, so down to the example here. It says, write a new conditional statement that follows from a pair of true statements. If it rains today, then I cannot cut the grass. If I cannot cut the grass, then I will have to vacuum the house. All right, so we're looking at this chain of events. If it rains today, we'll call that statement P. That hypothesis is forcing me not to cut the grass. That is statement Q, the conclusion. Now, the next statement is, if I cannot cut the grass, there's your statement Q again, then I have to vacuum the house. So a new statement, R. So what we have, again, for these laws, you're really concentrating on the form of the argument. What we have is, if P, then Q. All right. If Q happens, we have then R. So according to the chain rule, the valid conclusion is another if-then statement. Therefore, if the first event, P, then a whole series of things happens, our final conclusion was then R. So for this example, our conclusion is if, or not our conclusion, but our valid conclusion, yeah. If it rains, then I will have to vacuum the house. Okay, that is the chain rule. All right. So, as a big overview, inductive reasoning, that is just making guesses. You're looking at a pattern, trying to pick up on, I think this is what it is. You make a conjecture. It's an educated guess. The deductive reasoning, you are using laws, you are using properties, you are using theorems, postulates, things that are known to be true, and you're using logic to make a conclusion. Okay. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.